How to know if you're hurting your cat every day without realizing it. In this video, we'll break down 15 everyday behaviors that could be hurting your cat without you even knowing it, and then share 5 quick, scientifically proven ways to rebuild trust and strengthen your bond. Point 1. Rushing their trust instead of earning it. Trust with a cat isn't something we take. It's something we're quietly gifted, and only after we've shown ourselves to be gentle, consistent, and safe. One of the most common mistakes new cat guardians make is trying to skip ahead in that delicate process. We reach out too soon. We pick them up before they've leaned in. We move too fast with our affection, forgetting that in the feline world, closeness is a choice, not a given. To us, those gestures feel like love. But to a cat still learning our rhythm, it can feel like pressure. They are creatures of stillness and space, attuned to the energy we bring into a room. They notice how softly we walk, how quickly we reach, how heavy our tone feels in the air. When we approach with expectation instead of quiet patience, they retreat. Not because they don't want love, but because they need to feel safe before they can receive it. But when we slow down and simply sit nearby without asking for anything, something beautiful begins to shift. Over time, they may inch closer, maybe even curl up beside us. And that moment is everything. It's not just affection. It's a quiet whisper of trust earned, not taken. Point 2. Ignoring subtle signs of discomfort. Cats rarely shout their feelings. They whisper them instead, in movements so delicate they're often missed. A single tail flick, ears turning just slightly back, a slow shift of the body away rather than toward. These are the murmurs of feline discomfort, expressed in a language we were never taught to hear. Not because we lack love, but because we're human, tuned more to noise than to nuance. Discomfort in a cat doesn't always arrive with claws or growls. Sometimes it's silence. The soft way they leave a room when our footsteps are too fast. The way their spine stiffens beneath a hand that lingers too long. The purr that fades the moment our energy shifts. These moments don't always register as pain, but they are quiet boundary lines, drawn not to punish us, but to preserve their peace. When we start to notice these signs, really notice, and adjust with gentleness instead of insistence, something changes. We become someone who listens without needing words, someone who sees without needing to stare. And in that quiet respect, trust begins to grow. They don't just stay, they begin to lean in. Point 3. Punishing instead of understanding. When your cat scratches the couch, bites your hand mid-play, or sends a glass tumbling from the table, it's easy to feel frustrated. These moments can seem like defiance, like rebellion. But reacting with punishment, a raised voice, a spray of water, a sharp scolding, does more harm than good. It doesn't teach. It silences. And what your cat learns isn't right from wrong. They learn to fear you. And fear builds walls, not trust. Cats don't act out of malice. Every behavior is a thread tied to instinct, emotion, or an unmet need. Scratching helps them release stress and marks safe territory. A sudden bite often means they've reached their limit during overstimulating play. Knocking something down. Sometimes it's boredom. Sometimes it's curiosity that had nowhere else to go. These aren't misbehaviors. They're quiet calls for help. When we replace punishment with understanding, the dynamic shifts. We introduce better outlets like textured posts, softer games, more structure. And our response becomes calmer, kinder, more connected. In that space, a cat begins to feel not just tolerated but understood. And when they feel understood, they stay close. Not out of fear, but from the safety of being truly seen. Point 4. Assuming they're low-maintenance pets. There's a soft-spoken myth that clings to cats, that they're simple, self-contained, low-effort companions. Just fill their bowl, clean the litter, offer a nap spot, and they're fine. But beneath their independent grace lies something far more intricate. A deep need for rhythm, presence, and connection. And when we overlook that, even unintentionally, they begin to slip quietly out of emotional view. Cats won't beg for attention. They won't tug at your sleeve or bark at the door. When they're lonely, they retreat. When they're understimulated, they don't complain, they fade. More sleep, less play. A dullness in their eyes where light used to dance. It's not that they're easy. It's that they've learned to ask for less. But when we begin to understand their subtle complexity, something shifts. We start offering more than necessities. We offer presence. A few moments of play. a warm lap at the same time each evening, a soft word spoken just for them. And in those moments, they return, not in grand ways, but in the quiet, honest language of trust. Because even the most independent cat is still asking, softly, silently, "Do you still see me?" And when we answer yes, they begin to thrive. Point 5. Not respecting their need for autonomy. Cats are not distant because they don't love. They're distant because they need space to feel safe. And in that space, affection becomes something sacred. They are beings of balance, craving connection, but never on demand. Their love isn't loud or constant. It's cautious, thoughtful, and deeply intentional. But so often, we forget that. We follow them when they walk away. We reach out when their body stiffens. We ask for affection even when their language says, "Not now." In trying to be close, we sometimes press too hard. We want them to be like dogs, eager, ever present, always ready for touch. But cats don't love through obedience. They love through choice. And in their world, freedom is the foundation of trust. When we respect that, when we let them observe from a distance, sit beside us in silence, disappear into another room without being chased, something beautiful happens. Their walls soften. They come closer. They linger. Not because we pulled them in, but because we allowed them to come freely. That is the quiet magic of loving a cat. True closeness isn't taken. It's offered in moments of trust that only grow when we let go. Point 6. Overfeeding or feeding the wrong foods. Feeding our cats is one of the most intimate ways we express care. A crunchy treat after a nap. An extra scoop because they looked at us with soft eyes. It feels like love, and in some ways it is. But a cat's body is a delicate, finely tuned system. One that doesn't always receive our affection in the form we intend. Over time, too many indulgences or meals that stray from what their body truly needs can slowly wear down their vitality. Unlike us, cats don't thrive on variety for the sake of it. Their nutritional needs are precise, their digestive system sensitive. The effects of imbalance creep in slowly. A cat that sleeps more than usual, plays less, or suddenly becomes picky at mealtime. These aren't quirks. They're quiet signals, asking for help in the only way they know how. When we take the time to understand their dietary needs, to offer steady, species-appropriate food instead of convenience or treats, something deeper takes root. We're no longer just feeding their hunger. We're honoring their well-being. We're saying, "I see you. I care enough to keep you well." And when their bodies feel good, their energy rises, their mood softens, and their bond with us grows stronger, nourished from the inside out. Point 7. Being too loud or chaotic around them. What feels ordinary to us, a raised voice, a sudden laugh, the sharp click of a closing door, can feel like thunder in a cat's delicate world. They are creatures of stillness and sensitivity, wired to detect the softest sound, the gentlest breeze, the most subtle shift in energy. In that quiet sensitivity, they survive. But in our noisy human world, that same sensitivity can become a burden. Cats don't just hear us, they absorb us. They feel our moods, our chaos, our emotional weather. A rushed morning, a frustrated sigh, the flurry of movement across a room, all of it settles into their nervous system. And when that energy becomes a constant hum of unpredictability, they retreat. Not out of dislike, but out of sheer self-preservation. Peace becomes something they seek in hiding, not in our presence. But when we soften, when we lower our voices, move more slowly, hold ourselves with calm, they begin to notice. Their posture loosens. Their eyes stay open a little longer. They start to trust that being near us won't cost them their peace. We become not just their person, but their refuge. A place where quiet lives and trust grows. Point 8. Leaving their litter box dirty or poorly placed. To a cat, the litter box is more than a convenience. It's a sanctuary. A space that offers privacy, predictability, and control. It's one of the few places where they are completely vulnerable, and because of that, it holds deep emotional weight. But when the box is left dirty, crammed into a loud corner, or placed in a spot that's hard to reach, it doesn't just disrupt their routine. It undermines their sense of security within their own home. Cats are creatures of ritual and cleanliness. Their instinct to bury waste comes from both survival and an ingrained desire for order. When the litter box becomes uncomfortable, they don't act out, they adapt. They begin to avoid it. They find other places, or they hold in discomfort. Not because they're misbehaving, but because something in their safe space has shifted. But when we clean it regularly, position it in a quiet, accessible location, and ensure it's the right size and type for them, everything changes. That small box becomes a symbol, a message that says, your needs matter here. And with each thoughtful scoop, each quiet placement, that message grows louder. Trust deepens not through grand gestures, but through the care we show in even the smallest corners of their world. Point 9. Not giving them vertical space to escape or observe. For a cat, the ground is not always comfort. Safety is often found in height, in the quiet hush of a bookshelf, the perch of a window ledge, the soft corner of a high cat tree. These vertical spaces aren't just fun detours or climbing exercises. They're emotional sanctuaries. Elevated ground offers perspective, control, and most importantly, choice. Without it, a cat remains trapped at the heart of our human chaos. Eye level with noise, movement, and uncertainty, with nowhere to rise above it all. In nature, cats climb to survive. Height means escape. It means freedom from threats and the ability to observe without being seen. That instinct doesn't disappear indoors. It just waits. And if we don't provide a way up, that unmet need can lead to unease. They become more alert, less trusting, always seeking a way out that doesn't exist. But when we offer them vertical freedom, a tall cat tree, a safe shelf, a sunny hammock by the window, something shifts. They climb, they rest, they watch, they breathe. And in that calm space, trust grows. Because offering them the high ground is more than design. It's understanding. It's saying, I see your nature. I respect your need to rise. And in that understanding, your bond becomes something stronger, rooted in safety, but built upward with care. Point 10. Keeping their environment stagnant. For an indoor cat, the walls of your home aren't just walls. They're the edges of their entire universe. Every hallway, every window, every scent trail etched into the carpet tells part of the only story they'll ever walk. And when that story never shifts, when the toys stay untouched in the same corner, when the furniture never moves, when the rhythm of the day becomes too predictable, the world begins to lose its shape. What once felt comforting now begins to feel hollow. Cats are born explorers, even the shy ones, even the ones who nap all day with a paw curled over their eyes. Inside them lives a quiet craving for novelty, not chaos, but subtle wonder. A crinkled paper bag, a box that wasn't there yesterday, a sunbeam that shifts across a new blanket. Without these tiny changes, their minds begin to slow. Their bodies follow. But when we stir the stillness with intention, a rotated toy, a perch moved closer to a fresh view, a paper tunnel that didn't exist the day before, their curiosity begins to bloom again. You'll see it in the way they pause, sniff, approach with wide eyes. You'll feel it in the way they follow you, re-engaged with their world. Because enrichment isn't just about play. It's about offering life in layers. And when your cat's world feels alive, their connection to you deepens too, not through noise, but through renewed wonder. Point 11. Touching them where they don't like it. Every cat carries a map across their body, not drawn in ink, but in instinct. A living language of yes and no, comfort and caution. Some cats melt under chin rubs or lean into gentle strokes down their spine. Others flinch at a hand near the base of the tail or tense when a finger grazes their belly. These aren't random quirks. They're boundaries, spoken without words, and deeply personal. We often cross those lines with nothing but love in our hearts. A hand extended to show affection, a pat that feels natural to us. But even well-meaning touches can cause discomfort when they ignore what the cat has quietly expressed. They may not hiss or scratch. Most don't. Instead, they go still. They step away. They leave the room with quieter pause than they came in. But when we start to notice the tilt of their head into a hand, the soft rumble of a purr when we find the right spot, the relaxed blink when our touch says, I see you, something shifts. Our hands stop demanding and start listening. And in that shift, we stop offering affection the way we want to give it and begin offering it the way they need to receive it. Touch becomes trust, a sacred bridge built slowly, offered in silence, and accepted only when the moment is right. When we follow their map, we're not just petting a cat, we're holding something deeply fragile, their choice to be close. Point 12. Not creating a safe space during stressful events. To a cat, the world doesn't unfold gradually. It shifts in sudden, startling waves. One moment all is calm, and the next, thunder cracks the sky or strangers cross the threshold with unfamiliar scents and voices. A vacuum roars to life. Fireworks echo through the night. These moments, brief to us, can feel enormous to them. A world too loud, too bright, too fast. And in that overwhelm, they aren't looking to be comforted. They're searching for a place to disappear. Too often, we respond with human instinct. We call them out of hiding. We pick them up to soothe them. We leave the TV loud and the doors open. But fear doesn't respond to exposure. It responds to permission. The permission to vanish, to observe from a distance, to breathe again in silence. When we anticipate that need, by keeping a cozy corner available, by leaving the closet door ajar, by placing a soft bed in a quiet room, we create more than physical shelter. We create emotional refuge. We become the one who sees their fear not as a nuisance, but as something worthy of protection. And in time, something beautiful happens. Your cat learns that no matter how loud the world becomes, you will always offer stillness. That even in their most vulnerable moments, they are safe with you. And once that trust is built, it reaches far beyond the storm. It settles into the heart of your bond, quiet and unshakable. Point 13. Treating vet visits as an afterthought. To a cat, the journey to the vet can feel like a rupture in the fabric of their world. One moment, all is calm. The next, a carrier appears from some forgotten corner, and they're lifted into a storm of strange smells, jostling car rides, unfamiliar voices, and cold, clinical hands. In that whirlwind, what's meant as care often feels like chaos. And when it comes without warning or gentleness, it doesn't just create fear, it fractures trust that took weeks or even years to build. Too often, vet visits are treated as emergencies, surprises, or tasks to rush through. But for a cat, preparation makes all the difference. Leaving the carrier out daily, soft and scented with something familiar, transforms it from a trap into a den. Taking a short drive with no appointment helps remove the fear of the unknown. Speaking in low, reassuring tones while they're examined, staying present through the visit, these aren't luxuries. They're essentials in preserving emotional safety. When we approach care with softness, with foresight, and with respect for their fear, something shifts. A cat who once trembled at the sight of the carrier may begin to enter it willingly. Not because they enjoy it, but because it no longer feels like betrayal. It feels like protection. And when your cat learns that even the most uncomfortable moments are handled with tenderness, they begin to trust that love won't abandon them, not even when it's hard. Point 14. Forgetting that silence doesn't mean happiness. Cats live in a language of stillness. They don't wail when they're sad. They don't call out when they feel overlooked. Instead, they grow quieter. Their play slows. Their eyes dim. They disappear beneath beds or linger in corners, not because they're resting, but because they've stopped hoping the world will change. To the untrained eye, this silence looks like serenity. But sometimes it's not peace. It's pause. A cat who once darted after shadows but now only watches from afar, who once purred at your presence but now simply blinks and turns away. They may not be content. They may be enduring. And that difference is everything. We often think of cats as self-sufficient, emotionally minimal, easy. But their quiet isn't a lack of feeling, it's the depth of it. They feel with nuance. They express in posture, in gaze, in absence. When we begin to notice the space between their movements, the weight of their silence, the change in their pace, we begin to listen to what's unspoken. And in doing so, we give them something rare, a love that hears what they're too quiet to say. Because true happiness in a cat doesn't shout. It glows, in their tail gently swaying behind them, in the way they rest against your leg without shrinking, in the soft invitation of play returned. And when we see it, truly see it, we stop just caring for them. We start understanding them. And that is what brings their silence back to song. Point 15. Not playing with them every day. To a cat, play isn't a pastime. It's a lifeline, a flickering echo of their wild ancestry. The silent stalk, the graceful pounce, the thrill of the chase written deep in their bones. Even the gentlest, most laid-back cat carries that legacy inside them. But too often, As the days grow busy and their kittenhood fades, we forget. We assume they've grown past it. That their long naps mean peace, not the quiet fading of unmet needs. But when play disappears, something within them does too. Their curiosity begins to sleep. Their body stiffens from disuse. Their eyes, once bright with anticipation, settle into a faraway gaze. It's not laziness. It's a longing unfulfilled. Just 10 minutes. That's all it takes to awaken the hunter in their heart. The crinkle of a paper ball, the swoop of a feathered wand, the unpredictability of movement that lets them lose themselves in the rhythm of the chase. In those moments, they come alive. They remember who they are. And more importantly, they remember who you are, their companion in motion, their partner in instinct. Because play is more than energy spent. It's connection built. It's how you say, without words, I see your fire, and I'll keep it burning. How to rebuild the trust and strengthen your bond with your cat. Point 1. Let them choose the interaction. In the language of cats, the deepest bonds aren't forged through pursuit, they're formed through patience. To a cat, choice is everything. It's how they protect their heart, their space, their trust. And when we remove our need to lead, when we stop reaching, calling, coaxing, something beautiful begins to unfold. Sit quietly. Let your energy settle like dust in a sunbeam. No words, no gestures, just stillness. Let them find you. Maybe they'll approach right away. Maybe they'll circle first, watching with quiet eyes. Or maybe they'll simply sit nearby, close enough to share your breath. That first moment when they lean in, rub against your knee, or curl beside you without being asked, it's sacred. Not because you called them, but because they chose you. And when it happens again and again, in quiet repetition, that's when you'll know. Trust isn't something you rebuilt. It's something they decided was safe to give you once more. Point 2. Create daily moments of predictable peace. In the ever-shifting rhythm of daily life, your cat looks for anchors not in noise, but in stillness. They don't need grand gestures or constant chatter. What they crave is a moment that feels the same every day. A ritual of peace where nothing is expected and everything is safe. Start small. Just 5 minutes. No phone. No distractions. Simply sit with a soft blanket and let your energy settle. You don't need to speak. You don't even need to touch. Just be there present, grounded, and still. Over time, your cat will begin to notice. They'll drift closer. Their breathing will sync with yours. And slowly, they'll come to see you not just as a presence in their space, but as the calm within it. Cats flourish in routine, and when your presence becomes part of that rhythm, predictable, gentle, unwavering, they begin to let down their guard. Because to a cat, peace isn't just comforting. It's trust made real. Point 3. Re-enrich their world. For a cat, joy lives in the little things: a flicker of movement, a new scent, a change in light. But when their world stays the same for too long, even the most playful spirit can grow quiet. What once sparked curiosity begins to fade into background noise. Days blur, energy softens, and slowly, that bright, alert gaze turns inward. But it doesn't take much to bring the world back to life. A crinkly toy they haven't seen before. A cardboard box turned sideways. A puzzle feeder that makes dinner feel like a game. Even just moving their favorite perch to a new window where sunlight spills differently across the floor, it all matters. These gentle surprises say, there's still more to explore. And when they begin to investigate again, whiskers forward, ears twitching, paws soft, but certain joy stirs beneath the surface. Because for a cat, curiosity is not just play. It's proof that their world still holds wonder. And wonder, in any form, is how happiness begins. Point 4. Repair through play and affection. When trust has been shaken, the path back isn't loud or hurried. It's quiet, gentle, familiar, like the way spring returns not all at once, but in soft, blooming moments. A cat who has pulled away isn't lost. They're waiting, watching, wondering if you'll meet them again where it all began. Start with play, the language that needs no words. A slow-moving string across the floor, a rustling feather, a toy that flutters like prey. Let them chase, not just the toy, but the feeling of safety. Then, offer stillness. A slow blink from across the room. A soft spot on the couch. Your presence, calm and steady. Let affection come in layers. A paw nearby. A gaze held longer than before. A nap shared, not out of habit, but choice. Because rebuilding trust isn't about returning to what was. It's about building something new shaped by patience, lit by kindness, and held together by every quiet moment you choose to share again. Point 5. Use your voice with intention. To a cat, your voice is more than just sound. It's texture. It's tone. It's the invisible thread that weaves through the air and into their world. They may not understand our words, but they understand how we say them. The weight behind them, the rhythm, the emotion tucked inside each syllable. In time, your voice becomes part of their environment, as familiar and comforting as sunlight through a window. When you speak softly, with warmth and steadiness, your voice becomes a signal of peace. A cue that says, "You're safe here." Say their name like it matters, not like a command, but like a gentle reassurance. Narrate the moments of life. "I'm coming through, just moving the chair, dinner's ready." Not because they need the information, but because it becomes routine, anchoring, predictable. Even the way you breathe, the stillness in your silence, can carry meaning. Cats tune into the spaces between words, to the pauses that hold no tension. When you hold space with calmness, they feel it. They mirror it. And over time, your voice becomes more than background noise. It becomes a soft guide through the chaos of the world, a presence they look to, a sound they seek. It tells them without speaking the words, "Here, with me, you're always understood." If you've made some of these mistakes, welcome to being human. What matters is what we do next. Every time you notice something and try again, your cat notices. And that's what trust is made of. What's one thing your cat has taught you about trust or love? Share it below. Let's learn from each other.